Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I haven't seen you guys in quite some time. Last year was a very chaotic, very bad year for me from start to finish. Good riddance to 2023. 2024 has good vibes, good energy, and I just know that it's going to be my year, and I have claimed it as such. So in spirit of good things that I love, I thought I would start making videos again because when I made them, they made me very happy. And even more than that, I love to share my love of books with people that also really like books. And I also have some exciting news. I am going to be launching my very own book club. I had a book club once before, but I don't think it was really as great of a fit as I would have liked for it to be. And I think that part of that is because of the type of books we were reading. I do tend to like to read thrillers and mysteries. So my new book club, which I am calling Thrilled to Read You, is going to be centered solely on thriller and mystery books. I have a really great selection that I chose for us for the month of January. And I am hoping to do these book club meetings via Google Meet every last Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. So for this month, that would be January 31st at 7 p.m. And stay tuned for the book that I selected. I'll be telling you about that shortly. In the meantime, I thought that I'd show you what books I plan to be reading this month. If you followed my channel before, then you should know that I'm very good at telling you what books I plan to read and then reading something completely different. And my reason for that is because I am a mood reader. I read what I feel like reading. I'm not necessarily the type that's like, okay, this is what I'm gonna read and then sticks with that, because when I go to pick up my next book, that may not be what I'm feeling. So there's that. Before I show you those books that I do plan to read, one question that I get a lot is, how are you able to read so many books? And I believe in 2023, even though I had a lot going on, I finished the year out strong at 116 books, although that does fall a little bit short of where I usually land. I usually land somewhere between about 120 and 130. So this year I hope to get myself back on track by reading at my normal range. But because last year was just so weird and there was so much going on, I had a period where I just wasn't reading for like 2 months in a row. But to answer the question, the way I'm able to read so many books is because I never read just one format of a book, meaning that I constantly have like 3 different versions of books at all times. And those 3 consist of a Kindle read or a digital read. So before I had my Kindle, I was reading mostly on my phone. Audiobooks, I always have one audiobook at least, and physical books. So like my whole stack you see right there, and everything that's on my bookshelf, I should say, because I have multiple bookshelves within my home. I always have a physical book on hand, and that's how I'm able to read so much. I'm constantly switching between 3 different mediums of reading. Well, I recently invested in a Kindle. The Kindle I had before was acting really strangely for a really long time, so I was mostly reading physical books and listening to audiobooks. Like the majority of last year, that's what I was doing. I probably finished the year off with only reading 2 books on my Kindle, and I stopped reading books on my phone after a while because the print was just too small even at its largest font for me. And that's just because I'm getting older, my eyes were getting older too, and it was just a struggle. So this year we'll see what my reading stats become with me reading physical books, audiobooks, and ebooks, and I kind of can't wait to see how that pans out for me. With that being said, I did want to start out with my audiobook content. I can't tell you offhand what books I have on my phone currently by name. I do know that they're all by Susan Meisner, who is a historical fiction author that I absolutely admire. One of my absolute favorite books of hers I actually got from my Book of the Month subscription, and that is how I became familiar with Susan Meisner's work, and it's called As Bright as Heaven. This book was so beautifully written, so poetic. I would say one of her greatest attributes is being able to character develop so well. Her characters in any book I've ever read by her is so well thought out that you really connect with the people in the story. This book follows a family during the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic, and they are basically a family of morticians or have been raised in a mortuary. And so while the city is full of this illness and people dying, they're concerned about getting this flu from these dead bodies while also having to properly do their job, for these many families having to put their loved ones to rest. And it's just such a gripping story. And then on top of it, they find a baby whose family died from this flu, and they decide to take on this baby and risk getting the flu from the baby because they don't know if it's healthy or not. Absolutely 10 out of 10 recommend this book. It was such a great read. It still lives on as one of my favorite books of all time because I just remember it so vividly. With COVID having happened in our lifetime, I really suggest reading that book because you can relate to it so well, with that book having been surrounded around an epidemic and what that was like in the 1900s, the early 1900s, and us being nearly what, like 25 years later and having a similar situation. But I'm very excited to read more of her work. I have at least 3 of her books on my phone right now as an audiobook, and I just can't wait to get to it. Moving on to my Kindle. If you have not met my Kindle yet, here is my Kindle. I'm obsessed with Drake and books, and this pretty much represents that. Drake and books all throughout. So other than Susan Meisner's books, another book I can't wait to get to, hopefully this month, is the second book in the Housemaids series. It's called The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. The first one was absolutely crazy, about this woman that is a housemaid for this family, and she has all these crazy dark secrets that she's keeping from the family that hires her, but it's specifically the woman of the house that hires her, and that woman has a lot of secrets and reasons why she wanted to have a housemaid in her house. So it was a two-sided, very crazy read, and 10 out of 10, I recommend it. The way that story ended though in that first book, you can tell that the second book is going to be surrounded by a different family, but the main character, Millie, is still going to be the main character of the book. And I really liked Millie's character. I liked her story. I liked her journey. So I'm excited to see what adventures were going on with Millie in book 2. And I believe there's a third book as well. I'm not sure if it's been published yet or not, but I'm pretty sure there's a third one. If it's not out yet, it's still to come. And I can't wait to get to that one as well. Another one I can't wait to get to is this story called Winter Street by Ellen Hildebrand. She's one of my favorite authors. She writes a lot of historical fiction or contemporary fiction. Both are genres that I enjoy from time to time. Winter Street is a series that she wrote that's about wintertime. Most of her stories are centered around the summer or spring, or depending on what season her historical stories follow. So I was super excited to see that she wrote a winter series, and I like to read things that are based around a season during that season because it helps with the mood reading thing that I enjoy. I just hope that I can get them all read this winter. I just hope that I can read them all this year, hopefully like close together. I don't want to have to read some right now at the beginning of the year and some at the end of the year, or some right now and then have to wait all the way until the start of next year to read them, because I am borrowing this book through the Libby app. If you're not familiar with the Libby app, it's an app where you can borrow books and audiobooks, specifically ebooks though, when I say books, not physical ones, to download. You can download it on your phone, on your Kindle, and you can also download the audiobooks to either platform as well. But the wait list for this book was ridiculous, so I just hope that I can get it in time. Ellen Hildebrand is an older author, so she has lots of readers that follow her and love her to death. If you're not familiar with her work, I have some of my absolute favorites of hers that I definitely recommend. I would recommend starting with her most recent and one of my favorites of hers, The 5-Star Weekend. I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember the details of this story offhand, but I do remember it being one of my all-time favorites of hers. Maybe I'll have to read it again. And then she has this really crazy family drama series. It's a 3-book series, so a trilogy. The first book is Winter in Paradise, followed by Troubles in Paradise, and the last one, What Happens in Paradise. I absolutely recommend those for you. And I don't know if you can tell, but they're all marked with this little insignia right here, which is a BOTM, which stands for Book of the Month. I am a Book of the Month Club subscriber. I absolutely recommend it if you don't have it already, or if you are getting back into reading, you want to read a lot more. A lot of my favorite books and favorite authors have been found on that site, because they really encourage a lot of the newer authors by promoting their books and making them the selections. And once you read one really good book, you really want to stick with that author and read more and more of their work. And that's how I found some of my all-time favorites. Like I said, I didn't even know about Ellen Hildebrand until I became a Book of the Month subscriber. One of my favorite thriller authors, Sherry LaPena, I found on that site, Taylor Jenkins Reid, many others as well. Oh, I almost forgot. I also have this one that I really love by her called The Rumor. This one's a really good beach read. If you are creating a list for the year, I definitely recommend reading this one like around spring break or summer when the weather is really nice and when you just want to put yourself in a vacation mindset. It's drama, but it's such a juicy one that you're really gonna enjoy it during that time of the year. Or at least if you're a mood reader like me, that would be the case. Okay, so some other ones I really want to get to is Harmony by Whitney Hansen. She is one of my favorite newer poets. Her first book that she wrote is called Home, and that's the first book of hers that I read, and I thought it was absolutely beautiful. I cried a little bit, it was that good. And then I read her second book, Climate. It was okay. It wasn't the greatest, but it definitely had some tear jerkers in it. There were some poems about grief. I cried because I did lose someone very close to me. And then this one, Harmony, is also about grief and loss and moving on. So I anticipate I'll be crying through this one too. But because I love Whitney and the way she writes, hopefully it won't it won't be too harsh on me. My birthday was yesterday, so I made a run or 2 or 3 to Target and got some books. I do love my Target bargains, and I found some really good ones. I do tend to really enjoy anything that Reese Witherspoon picks, so I did pick up this book just based on the Reese Witherspoon tag before I read the synopsis. And it is about friends that went on a trip to Greece. One of the friends died. The other 2 friends become suspects. Everybody thinks that the friends killed her. Then years later, one of the surviving friends goes looking for the other surviving friend and asks for a favor. And then they become involved in some other suspicious something, or I think the crime is brought to the surface again. I'm not entirely sure yet, but it sounded really good. Also, this book takes place in Greece during their vacation. I love reading books about places that I want to go. It makes it so much more whimsical for me. So I plan to read this one this month. Before We Were Innocent by Ella Berman. We will see how it is. So I am now going to show you my final 2. One was actually my book club contender, and then the other one is the book that I actually chose to be our first pick for the Thrilled to Read You book club. Here's the contender. All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. This one sounded crazy good. It seems to be about a murder of a child that took place in a small town in Indiana, and there's a main character in the book that was also a little girl, same age, when this murder took place, and she grows up thinking how crazy that could have been me. And then right around the same time, she goes back to her hometown and another murder takes place that's crazy similar, with another child around the same age that ends up going missing. I don't think she's dead yet. She's just going missing. And they're trying to figure out who did it. Looks around and starts thinking, okay, it must have been someone that's been living here the whole time. So who is it? I thought that sounded pretty crazy. I thought it sounded pretty good. It's right up my alley. And that's why this was almost the pick of the month. But I think I found something better. So without further ado, the Thrilled to Read You book for January 2024 is The Prisoner by B.A. Paris, who is one of my favorite mystery crime thriller authors ever, even though she's newer to the game. If you haven't read Behind Closed Doors, I highly recommend you read Behind Closed Doors. That was her debut book that I thought was just superb. So this one is about a woman who is kidnapped. She's knocked out, kidnapped, ends up in this room, doesn't know who took her, where she is, no details at all. And so we are trying to figure out, first of all, how she's gonna escape, who took her, and yeah, everything. We just need to know. We need everything, all the details about what happened, how she got into this situation. And because B.A. Paris always puts us in these situations where we need like the whole setup A to Z without knowing anything in between, I thought this had all the makings for a 5 out of star thriller. So we're gonna give it a go. I hope you guys will join me in reading this book for the month. I found it at Target. I'm sure you guys can find it on Amazon or at Barnes & Noble or another bookstore near you. And hopefully you'll also join me in the live book chat and book club about it on Google Meets on January 31st at 7 p.m. Well guys, that's all I have for you for now. Hopefully I'll see you for the next video, which will be coming very soon. See ya!